And what a treat to be able to spend some of that time with Alex Rodriguez, former Mariner. And, of course, one of the pregame hosts for Fox and FS1. We've been watching him throughout this little run here, and he joins us right now. Good morning, Alex. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
Well, we were hoping this would happen, Alex. You joined us, last year or so, 2 years ago, and we were hoping at some point, at some time, right, we're going to get Burkhart, we're going to get Big Papi, we're going to get Jeter, we're going to get A-Rod, we're going to get to the ALCS. At what point in this season, Alex, did you think the Mariners could be in this position?
Well, you never know, guys, because, I mean, obviously it's been pretty, dry for about 25 years since 2000 and 2001, where both teams went to the ALCS. And you just never know. I mean, the American League is stacked. And you see how hard it was to get here. And obviously that Game 5 was just epic. I mean, talk about name of franchise has had two more epic Game 5s in one history than the Mariners. But they certainly have come around the corner. And I certainly think getting over that 15-inning kind of mountain, they came out, and we talked about it in the telecast, as a much more relaxed team in Game 1 and 2 on the road.
So you've been pretty high on them, though. I mean, just kind of watching these pre- and post-game shows and kind of hearing you talk about the Mariners, you seem like you've got a pretty good sense of what makes them tick. Why have you been high on this team?
Yeah, actually, I've been getting destroyed by my colleagues because everybody's been so pro Toronto.
Well, your colleague. I mean, I want to be fair, and I have to say it. Your colleagues honestly sound not biased, not like they don't like the Mariners, but like most of America, and especially people on the East Coast, like they just haven't really seen them much. And I don't blame anybody for that. The Mariners haven't been on a lot of national TV over the last few years, but it just kind of sounds like they don't know that much about them.
It's such a strange thing, as an alum from my Mariners, and I love the Mariners, love the fans, love that stadium. I'm having to basically be the voice of Seattle to our national audience and help them understand that when you play in Seattle, even though Griffey and myself and Edgar, we had such a great group, led by Lou Piniella, of course, and Randy Johnson, Dan Wilson. I mean, we were on national TV as much as anybody, like we were in a big market. But, there's a chip on the shoulder, and I've been explaining to the national audience that, baseball's king, especially when you have a team like this one that is so fun to watch and so exciting. And it's Amazon, it's Starbucks, and it's the Mariners. So far I'm 2-0. Hopefully it continues the mojo for Seattle.
Yeah, you do know this fan base, Alex. You did play here. You did go to 3 different playoffs with these fans, and it was in a different building, that Kingdome, that rocked a little bit. From your life experience, what do you think a trip to the World Series would mean for this fan base?
Boy, I mean, talk about, full circle. I mean, 30 years ago, baseball was saved by another Game 5, double by Edgar Martinez that scored Griffey. And I welcomed them as a 18 or 19-year-old at home plate. I just think that it would, take this franchise, from one of the best in baseball, one of the best in sports, to really elite. And I could not be more hopeful for those fans up there that have been such great fans for such a long time. They deserve it. And it will be a game changer, to tell you the truth.
Well, the guy who played hero in that Game 5 was Jorge Polanco. He's been a hero now through the first couple games of the ALCS as well. Does he remind you of anyone you played with, anyone you've been around in the game? Who does Jorge Polanco remind you of?
In a weird way, you're going to laugh here. Another switch hitter from Puerto Rico, Joey Cora. And I guess the difference is Polanco's Dominican, but it's usually those guys, that are not the headliners that make you turn that corner, that are the real big difference makers. And look, when the Tigers went into the Mariners, obviously you have Kyle Raleigh and Rosarena, and obviously Julio's been great. The last guy you're probably thinking about is Polanco, and here we go. Here's the guy that, has been the MVP so far for this Mariners postseason. He's been incredible. And the fact that he was hurt, a lot of people thought he wasn't going to make it, past the last couple of years. It was a great signing by management, and boy, has it paid dividends.
Do you think, Alex Rodriguez here with us, you all know the voice anyway, do you think if we had heart rate monitors on guys, I've always clamored for this, especially in football, built into the shoulder pads, be really easy to do. I'd love to see it, Alex, of just what is their heartbeat, what is their heart rate? From the outside, it looks like Polanco's never changes. Do you think if we actually had heart rate monitors, we would see a lot of variance between different players?
I mean, watching Polanco and how cool, calm, and collected, it might get a little spike, but it might just get back to flat really quickly. There's some people. Look, I'm playing with two guys. Playing, when I say playing, whatever my playing days are, Brock and Relayed, it's going to the set. But I work with two guys to my left in Jeter and Poppy, and where they're the gold standard of keeping an even, heartbeat. So it's fun to watch with those guys. And there's some guys like Polanco that, they do the opposite of shrinking, right? They grow in the biggest moments. And you can tell with the demeanor and reading body language in the post and pre-game interviews that he's just a calm, cool, and collected guy.
Mm-hmm.
So we've been spending a lot of the morning talking about pressure, talking about killer instinct for whatever that means in the game of baseball, and kind of what it means to be up 2-0 in a series like this. How do you think the modern baseball player, the modern athlete, deals with pressure?
Well, I would say this. I mean, players have never had more pressure than today. They've never had more voices. Excuse me. They've never had more white noise to deal with. That's why, I was making the point with Jeter and Big Papi and Kevin Burkhardt in our pregame that I predicted that the Mariners would be much better in game one, because once you kind of stare at death, and you did probably 10 different times in that 15-inning game, once you get over that mountain, you kind of have a sigh of relief, and you're saying, okay, we won, but we got away with a couple, big mistakes, or we got away with not dying. And the energy was one that was fresh, it was new, and it was more loosey-goosey, and they played really well.
So that's when you come out of that, and really there's, in some ways, no pressure on them in the beginning of the series. How do you handle being up 2-0, right? The prosperity of coming back now, and it's like, hey, you got to go close it out. It's a totally different, I would think, a totally different emotional state.
Totally different. I mean, you go from being in a David and Goliath kind of, matchup, you end up switching roles. All of a sudden, you're up 2-0. You're going to your home base with the great fan base of Seattle in a beautiful building, and all of a sudden you become David instead of Goliath. And that's the hardest thing in sports, is having to close out. Game 3 is going to be really, really difficult. And obviously the last game, that's why you have some of the greatest closers in the game, like Mariano Rivera. Those last 3 outs, those last win in a series always are the most challenging one. I think you got to keep yourself in tunnel vision and pretend you're still 0-0 or 1-1, and don't believe the hype when you get home. Don't get comfortable. Don't get distracted. It's really about doing exactly what you've been doing. And I joked about it. Even if you have to go to the DoubleTree down the street and stay away from everybody to stay focused, do it, because this is something that your whole life, your whole sports career, is at stake here, your legacy.
And don't you think you're going to get Toronto's very best shot tonight as well?
There's no question about it. I mean, these guys are great players. They're very well managed. They have a blue-collar approach, and they're coming out swinging. And they're going to be more focused, and they're going to be away from home. No more fanfare. I think you have to be able to sustain and absorb that punch, but it's coming.
I was thinking about you, Alex, and we're talking to Alex Rodriguez in a conversation about Julio Rodriguez, and both of you came through the Mariners system with incredibly high expectations. Both of you incredibly talented young players who came to the big leagues probably, early in your life, or earlier than most guys make it to the big leagues, and had some immediate level of success. And in Julio's case, it felt, and I can't speak for him, but it felt anyway like there was a bit of a burden of expectation, a bit of a burden of leadership, and everything kind of being focused on him. This year, he decided not to go to the All-Star game, and in the meantime, Cal Raleigh really took the mantle of being the one player that everyone was talking about. He wore a lot of the leadership for the team. What, just kind of drawing on your own experience, what do you think that could have done for Julio this year?
Well, a few things. It's funny you say that because I feel so attached, and he's my good buddy, like my little bro, Rodriguez. He's a phenomenal athlete. He's a phenomenal person. But young people need great leadership. And it's funny that we're both Dominican. We both were Rodriguez. We both played for the great Seattle in the Northwest, he plays. And I had great leaders in Lou Piniella, Edgar Martinez, Jay Buhner, Ken Griffey. I mean, guys that to this day I absolutely adore because of what they did for me. And they were such great role models. You know, he goes from feeling the way he was feeling to now he has Dan Wilson, who's a mentee of Lou Piniella, and he has the great Edgar Martinez. And I think DePino, the head of baseball over there, has done a great job of bringing in analytics, but also having the old school kind of legacy players that could not be more respected, not only in Seattle, but around the baseball community. You're not going to find better than Dan Wilson. You're not going to find better than Edgar Martinez. So I spent a lot of time with Julio this year on FaceTime and Zooming on things he wanted to work on. And, really, really proud of the work he's doing. But like I told him the other day, he's got more work to do.
Did you think Danny would do this one day when you were a teammate of his and watching him through and continuing to be around the Mariners organization? Did you think he would be a skipper one day?
No, you know what I thought he would end up doing? And it's funny because he went to the University of Minnesota. I thought he would end up being like a priest or a preacher or some type of philanthropy. I mean, I knew that he's a great husband, he's a great son, he's a great father, he's one of the greatest teammates around. He's beloved in Seattle. Everywhere Dan Wilson goes, he's loved. And there's a reason why Lou Piniella brought him from Cincinnati, because he knew what kind of person he was. I didn't think he would be managing, but I thought, Brock and Salk, that he would be in some type of leadership role with a higher purpose. And I think he's doing that right now for Seattle.
They got a higher purpose, man. They got another round to go. I mean, you got to try to win the ALCS, get to a place they've never been before. One challenge that we've talked about, and there's a lot to. I really think they're the most talented team in the American League between the depth of the lineup, the the starting staff, rotation, and then the bullpen, especially the leverage guys. But it is interesting. Once you get beyond 3-4 guys in the bullpen, you start to have challenges. And again, kind of thinking back on your career, I do think about the 2004 season and some of the lack of depth in the Yankee pen that year that felt like it came back to bite you in the ALCS as Quantrill and Gordon kind of wore out a little bit or wore down. How do you look at relievers kind of gearing themselves up to get as many appearances as they have to go through an entire postseason?
Yeah,
boy, you just brought back some awful memory. So thank you.
I grew up in Boston. I can't help it, Alex. I'm sorry.
Alex, you really
have to understand that's
really
like the greatest moment of my sport watching career. There's only I just can't not bring it up. I'm sorry.
I can hear it in the excitement in your voice. I love it. No, but in all seriousness, I mean, look, when you look at the underbelly of any pitching staff, is that kind of softer part of the bullpen. And when you look at the best teams, the way they've done it, they really try to surround themselves with 2 to 4 guys that they can count on. But in a 7-game series, or even multiple game series, if you want to go to the World Series and win it, you're going to depend on more than 2 or 4 guys. And I think the key is you got to be aware that there's huge ramifications when you pull out pitchers so early in game one. I thought Snyder, the Blue Jays manager, made a mistake by pulling Gosman in game 1 after 76 pitches. That's okay in a regular season when you can manipulate rosters in and out. But in a 7-game series, that means you give the Mariners a double win. 1, they win the game 3-1, but 2, they get 4 free looks at that bullpen that then they're going to go out and face 3 or 4 times in the next 7 or 8 days, advantage Mariners. So if you had to play it again, if Gosman can go his average 95 pitches instead of 76, maybe the Mariners get 2 free looks, but they don't get the looks they got. And then obviously in game 2, was it Verland who gave up the home run? Mm-hmm. Verland gives up the home run to Judge. Then he starts the next day, and then he pitches game 1. It ends up adding up.
Last couple things for me here, A-Rod. How big of a deal, since you've been in all these environments, How big a deal, really, is 47,000 rocking that building tonight? I know what it does in football. I know the noise that it creates, the chaos communication, the half-step advantage for a defense, all of those things. But from a baseball perspective, in an ALCS, how big of a deal is that crowd really?
I mean, look, I was there, and I love playing at home. I love the fans. It really is the 10th man and an incredible home field advantage. And don't forget, guys, that whoever's usually flying to Seattle is going to be on a flight for at least 3 hours. And that becomes I know that when I was there for 7 years, it was a huge competitive advantage for us. Now you just got to own your home field and protect it.
And then lastly, we asked Jeff Passan this yesterday, and you baseball guys always seem to know ahead of everybody else how these games are going to unfold, take shape, because you've been a part of so many of them. Give me a couple of the biggest keys for the Mariners to close this thing out in this homestand over the next 3 nights.
Well, I think the first 3 innings are going to be vital for the Mariners, because we're going to see, how the Mariners can deal with success. And with the Blue Jays, we're going to see how they deal with some, adversity in the first couple of innings. And it remains the same thing it always has for over 100 years. You got to pitch, you got to defend, you got to have timely hitting. And when you get those runners at second, if you don't want to bunt, you better get them over to third base, because you don't want the difference of going to the World Series or not, because you couldn't advance the runner 90 feet. And they got away with that in Game 5. But against a team like Toronto, I don't think they'll be able to get away with that.
Got to give you credit, man. Dealing with the New York media as long as you did. I was just listening to Craig Carton today call Bryce Miller a journeyman. What did he call him? A journeyman tool?
Bum.
I mean, essentially said that he was somebody that no one should even think about. Dealing with what you dealt with as long as you did in the New York press, I'm impressed. I got to tell you, to bite your tongue on a daily basis has to be challenging.
Well, I don't know if anything to do with media. I've done well at anything, but I certainly enjoyed my time. And I'll tell you, some of my greatest memories in my life has been with my mom, with my sister, with my brother, with Chuck Armstrong, Woody Woodward, Lou Piniella. A lot of my life is shaped because my time in Seattle, and I certainly miss it.
Wow, it's very nice of you to say, and a lot of nice feedback coming through our text line right now as well. Alex, thanks for a second appearance here on the show. We really appreciate it, and we'll look forward to
now when they go to the World Series, we'll be bothering you again.
Yeah, that's probably true. We'll probably bother you next week if they go to the World Series.
We'll do it again.
All righty.
Good luck, guys.
There you go.
Work.
There's Alex Rodriguez, A-Rod himself, here on the Brock and Salk Show. And I think you heard it the last time he was on, and you hear it again now. We'll get back to sort of the baseball element of it, but I think you can hear very clearly a desire on Alex's part to, I'm not even sure, somebody wrote in an olive branch. Yeah, there's an olive branch extended, but I'm going to try to play amateur therapist for a moment. It feels like he's trying to put back sort of one of the big traumatic experiences of his career. He had an enormous decision to make. He made it. There are consequences to that and benefits as well. And I'm going to guess, just listening to him now, and I've never been like Mr. Big A-Rod fan. I think I've made that clear over the years. But it does sound anyway as if there's just some unresolved issue there of like, yeah, I not that he regrets what he did, although I think he told us the last time he was on that if he could do it again, he might have done it differently. But just that element of like, yeah, how can I make peace with this one part early in my life that's never quite sat well with him? For a guy that by all accounts really wants to be liked by as many people as possible, I'm sure it's hard that, what he dealt with every time he would come back to Seattle. And it does sound like he's really interested in reaching out to change that.
Yeah, I would say 2 things. I would say, having spent some time off the field and off air and around Alex, I'd say, I don't even know if it's as much liked at this age and stage of life. It's the respect factor and understanding, right? The caliber of player he was there. He was unbelievable. He was a 10-WAR player. I mean, he was so good for the Mariners on the field, and wants that, to be respected, because he knew how important all those guys were around him to that growth and development. Like, you get to near 50 years of age, you got time now to look back in your rearview mirror, Salk, and you go, golly, those really were 6, 7 amazing freaking years.
Yeah.